What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Save Point Podcast, episode 4. I am Alex, and obviously I'm joined by my co-host Sway. We're here yet again in between this very odd holiday season, right, of Christmas and Christmas Eve on the weekends, and then New Year's and New Year's Eve. And Sway, we're in a time of not a lot going on, but it gives us time to do a couple different things. So obviously, how we start the show, we talk about what we've been up to, and then we also, for this topic, we're just going to kind of talk about the year. I've specifically made the videos of my ranking every game I've played, but I want to hear what Sway, if he has a list or just some of the games he enjoyed as well, and we'll go from there. Let me say this in the beginning because I failed to do it ever in all 3 of the first episodes. If you guys ever have any topics or questions you want us to tackle in the show, leave it in the comments there. I said it within the first 1 minute, so that should be good to go. Sway, how you doing? And how's Christmas, and what have you been up to over this extremely dead week?
Christmas was enjoyable. I loved it. I hung out with some family, gift exchanged it. Got to give my nephew his gifts. He shot me around with his new gel gun that he got. So
Nice.
that was enjoyable and relaxing. As far as what I've been playing, I played a tad bit of Callisto Protocol, and I said tad bit because somewhere between late last week and earlier this week, I just got in the Star Wars kick. Like it fully hit me.
Good.
So Battlefront, Jedi Fallen Order,
I think you'll beat
those two
Callisto
games
probably in
mainly.
the next year. Like, I think
Probably in
at
the
this
next
rate.
year.
Yeah.
At this rate. So but yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. And then outside of that, little Steam Deck action. I feel like if I would have got Callisto on PC, it would have definitely been finished. I think that is what happened. Is like because the Steam Deck is always able to come with me whether I go to work or not.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just like I need the game. So like my Steam Deck game right now is Marvel's Midnight Suns, but not having that Callisto Protocol there on there, I'm like it's at the mercy of whenever I get home and what I want to do when
What
I
do you
get
play?
home.
Because I saw your tweet about Battlefront 2. What do you play? Like, what's your go-to? In
Supremacy,
Okay.
supremacy.
I like
I do
heroes
do
versus
heroes versus
villains, even if
villains.
it's somewhat. I don't know. I love it. That's a mode that I love so much, but I also hate so much. Like when things go wrong or it just doesn't seem like
They
it's
go
working.
wrong.
Yeah.
When it rains, it pours.
I love that game a lot, and I
Yeah,
I don't love it as much as the original Battlefront 2, but I just wish they would have, because it had such a renaissance story. Like Battlefront
it
2,
did.
it's not how you should approach making a game, like having it start at the bottom or just tank originally and then it kind of like rises from the ashes. Like that part's cool, but the beginning of that story is not what you want. But credit to them, they turned that ship around fast, but then and they left things on the table. Like I'll always be so upset that like Ahsoka and Padme were supposed to be in this gosh darn game. The
And
files of Grievous talking about them, like the whole story is known to the deeper Battlefront lore community. Like it was right there for people, and we didn't get it. And then we don't even get like a Battlefront 3 of like a Mace Windu. I mean, there's more they could do.
there's so much more they can do, and the fact that the I want to say what was it, the lead creator, the creative director, he left, and somebody actually in Discord showed me a tweet. It was quite old, but I never knew about it. That he answered why he left Dice, and it's because he did not get to work on the Battlefield 3. They would let him work on
Uh,
Battlefield 3. So I was like, man, that hurts, and it's because the only reason, like the turnaround was so great. Uh Almost unheard of how
yeah.
well it turned around. But that game, as a person that played the beta, the gameplay was, it's kind of the same thing that I say for Halo. It's like the gameplay was
Oh yeah.
super solid. It
Yeah.
was
I
always solid.
yeah.
It was the microtransactions that doomed it for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that is what just like people would say like content is for Halo, I'd say the microtransactions for Battlefront is what doomed it, and then they was able to turn that whole system around
Yeah.
And so the structure and
But
the foundation
adding in
was
more modes
solid.
and heroes and villains as well. But I mean, the core of
Mhm.
that game, yeah, and it was a
Yeah,
different era for the channel. But I was around actually back when Battlefront 2 came out. I remember making videos, and I remember saying this is a very foundationally good game. It just does,
yeah,
there's obviously just a lot of issues. But yeah, I mean, you can't have that turnaround if the game sucks, if the game plays like.
exactly.
So there had to have been, and there was something from the very beginning, and it was in the first game. The first game, the gameplay was solid, and then it felt and sounded like Star Wars. I just remember playing even the beta for Battlefront 1, and just hearing the blasters and seeing it, and it was just so good. And it's like they clearly know what they're doing there, like they do. But and then obviously 2 kind of fell apart in the beginning, and then came back, and then yeah, I believe. Now, did they get shifted over to Battlefield
Battlefront
2042?
2040.
Oh my
Yep,
god!
they
I knew
did.
they got shifted over to
That's what happened.
Battlefield. I just forgot if it was that specific game. Yeah. Well, that's what happens.
That's
That's
sad.
what you get.
Yeah, I've enjoyed, like, just like you, I've enjoyed both Battlefront games. In fact,
Yeah,
I
I
was
like them.
so excited for the first Battlefront game.
Yeah.
There was a collector's edition, of course, with me. Um, but it came with a mini fridge, and this mini fridge was a Han Solo on the front, like
Yeah.
in carbon.
Yeah.
And I have that one. I still have never used it. Like, I plugged it in one time just to see, how everything would work.
Yeah.
But like, I have never really used it. It
Oh
is still
my
in the
that.
box. I don't want to really. I don't
Yeah.
want to
No, that'll
damage
be
it.
worth a lot of money one day. I believe it.
That's same.
Yeah. Oh my god. Well, I mean, I've been in the Star Wars kick as well. I tried to. What have I actually done? I forget. Well, I know. So if we go backwards from the closest back, I did Jedi Fallen Order. I've played it 2 days now. I'm actually like almost halfway through. It's surprising because like the game is long if you make it long, but if you know what you're doing and you're not dying, you can. There's actually a very fast pace you can get through that game. So I mean, that game is so good. I remember it being great. Like, I remember saying it's one of the best Star Wars games, but you forget after 3 years, like when you're feeling it in your hand and you're like, oh my god, how he swings the lightsaber is so good. The sounds, I mean, speaking of sounds, the sounds of blocking a blaster or slicing a stormtrooper, like, it is phenomenal. And then the story is real. Like, the beginning is so good. The kind of demons, or not even Demon Souls, the just From Software kind of, it's a hard game, and I definitely remembered it being hard because one of my main memories with the game is just how difficult it was. I'm not nearly as I'm better. I'm not nearly as bad as I was back then. I understand it more, and it's so good. I mean, I know you were playing it, just a little bit of it as well. That game's phenomenal, and I can't wait I'm gonna finish it, do like a little retrospective on the main channel, and then I'm ready to go because I do forget some. Like, I forgot that they show in the beginning, well, not in the very beginning, but like when they show the holocron for the first time, just an example of what one was, and it's Obi-Wan giving the message. Like, I forgot Obi-Wan's voice was like in it, and I'm like, oh my god, all these small things I forgot. So I'm so pumped. Like, it makes me way more excited for Survivor. But just remembering
Definitely.
how good they were and that I believe they can nail it again. So I did that. But before that, I did Sonic. And I only played Sonic for about 2 hours, and I'm not feeling great about my odds of going back in because when I start a game, if I leave it that quickly, I don't know how much I
It
don't
doesn't look
love
good.
I don't love Sonic Frontiers. It was okay. So if I go back in, I would like to go back because I want to make like a video of like I finally played or beat Sonic. Like, I think that's a solid title. So I want to do that video, and that's kind of what's making me want to play the game. But I don't know. It's a different kind of Sonic, that's for sure. And I thought I played. Oh, I beat High on Life. I beat High on Life between the last. So between the last time we talked on this show, I did High on Life, beat it, 2 hours of Sonic, and then halfway through, I've made some good progress in these games. Because like we talked about, and like we will talk about in future weeks, we don't got a lot of time left. The storm, like you said yesterday, the storm is coming, basically.
Yeah, no, like, I've already done kicked myself. I'm like, you know what? This is the week. It's got to happen. I'm like,
Yeah. If you're gonna
I'm
beat
not
games,
today.
if you have like a desire, if you're really serious about going through your backlog, this is it. Is if you don't do it
This is it.
now, It's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna get done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what, like I told myself I don't beat Callisto Protocol right this week. It is not gonna
Eventually.
happen. It's gonna happen eventually, but not like this has have to be the week. If it's not, then mid 2023 at the
Yeah, I
earliest.
was being the summer. I feel bad for Midnight Suns
Yeah.
because in the casualty of me trying to do this, I'm hoping, like, in my grand plan, beat Jedi Fallen Order in the next 2-3 days. And I really had to decide. But then basically I eliminate one roadblock, and then it's, do I go and I just tank through Sonic, or do I go back to Midnight Suns? And Midnight Suns is very enticing. But Sonic's new, and it's like, do I want to actually do it? So I may try Sonic one more time for like a 2-3 hour session. If I can't get through it in 5 hours, if I can't like mentally, embrace the game, then I'll probably just do. I may just I think I'm done. I feel like I have like Death Stranding and Metal Gear Solid 5. Like, we want to go back like 6 years ago. I have those games, but I mean, in all realism, Dying Light 2, I don't really care to go back to it. I don't have that many backlog games anymore. There's a couple Danganronpa games, 2 of the 4 I haven't played. So I do have some games that are like evergreen. I can do it whenever. But I feel like I'm done. So I may just tank through Midnight Suns. Like, just let's put another 30 hours and then let's play Forspoken.
Easily.
That may be the plan.
Midnight Suns, with it being a tactical RPG, with games like that and Fire Emblem, I've always kind of taken my time with them.
Yeah, because you can go
so
back
those
whenever.
two, yeah, like, so those two are like specifically like handheld games where I'll go like, okay, this is where I'm playing, this is where I'm putting the time into, and then when I'm at home, I normally do like that. So I kind of like, they're my in between games when I'm not like console gaming or home gaming. They're like my in between games that I get my gaming fix in between those.
Yeah.
But once the story in either one like ramps up, then that's when you'll like see me just like I'm at home, but I'm playing those because I'm like, I'm too deep in.
Which
now.
Midnight
The
Suns,
hooks
like,
are in.
as we talked about with the surprise of Midnight Suns, the story is like, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the voice acting, and it is because naturally I think you're going to compare them to the real life, especially because it seems like with Tony Stark, they were going with a Robert Downey Jr. impersonate, like,
They were,
but then like Doctor Strange is nothing like that Doctor Strange, so like some of the characters they're trying to mimic, and even like Spider-Man, like having Yuri of Marvel so like you have some pretty legit, either you're trying to be them or you're trying to make people think you are, but then you have like some of these characters that are just absolutely not. It's a little off-putting, but that's really the only, I think I've said that before, the amount of dialogue I don't like, and the voice acting here and there. I like Captain Marvel. I actually really like her. There's some good ones, but the story is, I think, very underrated because the story is awesome, and I don't really see anybody talking about it. But so far,
because everybody loves the combat.
Yeah.
I think that everybody was so in love with the combat that they didn't necessarily want to give the story a full try.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think even seeing like, I don't want to confirm this, but I'm pretty sure the actress who plays Nico was
Laura
also
Bailey.
the same actor.
That's Laura Bailey.
Laura Bailey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's
so,
Abby and Fiona and lots of other. Yeah. She's
Laura. So
I think Erica Lindbeck, who's a lot of different things. I think she's Captain Marvel. There's a couple of them that are like a bunch of different characters.
And I just love that when talking to Nico, like, the lore that they gave for her background when talking about the Runaways was like, as the person that dabbled in a few of the Runaways comics and watched the entire, like, every season of the Runaways show, it was very accurate.
Yeah.
Very accurate. So I was like, oh yeah,
she's one of my favorites.
That was neat to hear about.
She's one of my, same. In terms of she's a good person, like a very good character, and then her powers actually to match up to it. They're extremely good. Well, we talked about Midnight Suns. We talked about your inability to beat Callisto. So let's go into the main topic of, like I said, I've already done mine. So let's hear some of yours and we can bounce off each other. What were some of your favorites? Were there any games you hated this year? Let's kind of go high and low to start.
So, I can't say that there's any games that I hated.
You must
There's
not have played
games
new Tales from the Borderlands then.
I did not. I've honestly been like that was one game where like I'm normally the pre-order person, right? Like I'll watch gameplay, I will watch everything that comes out like information wise for a game, and I'll make my decision there.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna get it, I know I'm gonna get it well before it comes out. Um Tales of the Borderland was something that was so iffy that I legitimately waited for reviews
Yeah.
because I'm a huge Borderlands fan. I've played all of them besides Tales of Borderlands,
That's the best
and
one.
um I waited, and I just wanted to like look at different reviews to see when it came out, and I was like, all right, I'll get it. Or wait, maybe I'll wait for a sale or something like that.
Yeah.
And between your review and a few other reviews, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. It was
I'm like,
it
it
was
is what I thought it was.
yeah, it's mind-boggling. It's atrocious. Like in every I can't believe that it actually exists and people were paid, however much these people are able to make, which is a lot, to make that piece of garbage. But I give them a lot of respect because they didn't give, I don't think, too many people codes. They gave me a code the day it came out. So it's not like I got it like 2 weeks early. But they gave me the code the day the game came out, and I was ready to tear it apart because I like Borderlands. I love Tales from the Borderlands. Telltale's one of my favorite games ever. Period. So this is insulting if you liked that one. So I don't know if you've played the like Telltales, but if you liked that one, this one spits in your face and says, "Well, we know you liked it, but what if we just didn't do it like that? We did some other stuff." And it's like, well, no, that's why are you calling yourself Tales from the Borderlands then? Or new? It's new in all caps. Tales from the Borderlands. Yep. A joke. All right, so you didn't. So you wouldn't consider, because I think you played Saints Row, so you wouldn't consider that a game you hated.
Saints Row, I can't say that I hated it, but I far from loved it.
Okay, yeah. That'd be still on the low end.
Yeah, it's still on the low end. That was one game that like I will admit I did threads on. I was excited. I was trying to wave the flag as long as I could and playing it. There were elements that I did enjoy. I'd seen potential in that game, but the execution was so far off the mark that it's just like after you sit with it, and I beat it, and after you sit with it, it's just like, okay, like the characters. Nina, I actually liked. The other characters, Eli wasn't as bad as I think everybody thought he was, but however, he was not good at all. He was, glasses.
Okay.
I don't remember any of
their names. Not a single one.
And then I think Kevin was his name. Kevin was surprised. Like the characters didn't really disappoint me in the way that it disappointed most people.
Yeah.
As far as when they actually got to the storylines, but it was like everything else that was not in story was the most cringiest stuff you'll ever see. And it's like the dialogue was cringy, and the way that they interacted with each other was cringy. And the way that I thought about the game before it came out was like, okay, this is a prequel to like, this is a rebooted, so this is not like canon with the old timeline. Yeah. But this is like starting fresh from the beginning to see how the Saints were born. Yeah. In which case, I was thinking of it as a Breaking Bad type of thing, where you have these people who are far from anything gangster.
Breaking Bad has depth, and
this this did not have depth. And so that's why I said, like, before the game came out, that was the way that I was thinking. I was like, okay, like they're clearly nothing like Saints at all. Yeah.
They're doing it for student loans, aren't they? They're repaying student loans.
Yup, repaying student loans. And I'm like,
what a setup.
Something drastic has got to happen in order for these characters to like get to the point where we're calling them Saints, because when you have that name with this franchise, you're expecting some pretty serious stuff to go with it. And that didn't happen at all. Yeah. There was no tonal shift. There was no character motivation. It was just like, you mess with my friend, so now we're gonna mess with you, more than it was like, okay, now we're gonna get gangster here. We're gonna go to the streets and we're gonna do some vile stuff. Like it was nothing. It was like watching Fast and the Furious in the game. And
The
it
Fast and
was
Furious is
like
the. How dare you insult Fast and Furious, the film franchise,
I
like
love
that?
I Fast and the
I
Furious.
love
I
Fast and
love
Furious.
the first. I say I love more than the first half.
Okay.
Um, when the Rock, uh, when the Rock came in, and this is as a person that's a huge Rock fan.
Yeah.
When he came in, there was just something about it that I'm like, we are now
Well,
in
they
the
yeah,
like era of like
it
this is no
shifted.
longer realistic.
Yeah, it shifted. It shifted. All right. So, what are some of your
And so,
favorites?
for what? Fast and Furious
No,
or games? Games.
games.
Games. Favorites God of War, obviously.
Okay. It.
Elden Ring, I did not play a lot of because I did not have a copy formally. I played a lot of it over my friend's house.
Yeah.
And that is a game that I still am going to get.
Yeah.
And not anytime soon though, because if I start that now,
Yeah. You don't have
then
enough time.
everything in 2023 is going to be pushed to 2024.
Yeah.
So um that is a game though, from what I've played of it, I really did enjoy, and I really could see um a lot of why it got the praise that it did.
Yeah.
Um Gotham Knights, really enjoyed that. I cannot tell you how much of that is my diehard Nightwing fandom and how much I just really like the game, but I believe that in that game the characters were represented very well. The story was, for the most part, I like the story. It wasn't the best story, um, but I do believe it was a solid story. Wasn't the best. Might have even been. I would call Origins better than Gotham Knights in story perspective. Another game that I liked, Horizon Forbidden West. That's the game that I did not finish for reasons. It actually almost, well, it did break my PlayStation 5
Oh my
temporarily.
God.
Um, like turned it off, pressed the power button, it wouldn't cut on. So then I'm like on the internet, like Googling different ways to try to like get the system to cut on.
Yeah.
Eventually it did cut on. It didn't last anywhere but beyond 5 minutes, but that was like a scare for me. So ever since then, I do know that there was other people that had a similar issue with it
Yeah.
and they have patched it since, but it was just one of those things where it's not that I didn't finish it because I didn't like it. It was I didn't finish it because I'm scared to literally play it on my console again.
Yeah. That's a
um
good reason.
yeah, so that was one that I really enjoyed this year. I would say the same thing for I'm a big wrestling game fan, as you some of you might know, and I did enjoy WWE 2K, even though since 2K has owned the WWE games, it's not necessarily my favorite genre of wrestling games. But I think this year they did a decent job. But even with that, there was a bug that I complained about to 2K themselves, and they said it'll be fixed. This was in the month that the game came out, by the way. And to this day, my data is corrupted no matter what I do, no matter what I delete.
Oh my
Trying to play a match, it's like on super speed. It's like watching Sonic
God.
wrestle. So it is nothing works, nothing saves because the data's corrupted. So this is probably the worst year I've had in terms of games working. I've never had problems before this
Yeah.
year.
My God.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think of what else.
You said Midnight
Um
Suns. We had.
Midnight Suns.
I
Midnight Suns we
assume
got.
you didn't bring it up, so I'll throw. I don't think you played it. Plague Tale Requiem then.
No, I have not played Plague Tale, but it is on my list though. I need to play both.
I think you.
So
I mean, well, you're in the Star Wars kick. I mean, you
yep.
could do a double feature and I think beat both before the Avalanche comes. So if you're looking
Okay.
for just the best way of ending a year / beginning a year, I mean that would be
Plague
my.
Tales.
I don't really know. I wrote Sifu. Sifu was high up on mine.
Oh,
Um,
sequel. It doesn't even feel like it came out this year. It
yeah,
came...
it came out before Horizon, right? Just a few
yeah.
days before. Not even a week, I don't think.
Sequel, I would definitely agree with.
Yeah. I did the Rose DLC for Resident Evil Village. I really, really love that. I put that at 8 on my list. I put Gotham Knights at 17 out of 39 games. So
Ooh, not even bad.
above the top half to match. What else? Evil West I put as a rather 10 on the list. I think that was rather high. Evil Dead, the game, that was a multiplayer one back. Some of these games, yeah, you do kind of forget came out this year. I'm trying to think, is there any
Yeah,
Multiverses I kind of completely forgot about.
I completely forgot about that game as well.
Games like The Quarry, even, I kind of forgot came out this year, but I put that on. As Dusk Falls and Stray were two. I already mentioned the ones that I absolutely despise. Devil in Me, I hate that game, so I put that rather low. Even like Somerville and Scorn did not really connect with me. Those are pretty low on my list as well. I did the whole listing, but just to kind of bounce it off of you, it was a year. It had
What's a year?
it had some really high games, and I think the difference between I don't remember last year as well as I should. The difference between this year and last year, I think, were definitely at the top. I think the games at the top. So, like last year, my game of the year was actually a tie between Life is Strange: True Colors, which was shocking to me, and Guardians of the Galaxy. Those are my. I can't put one above the other, so I tied them.
Guardians was mine.
Yeah. Now, but the thing with me is, I think this year had more throughout, but. And also, I would say the top of this year beats the top of last year. Because, like, games like, well, mine. So, my top 5, Plague Tale, God of War, Horizon, Elden Ring, Sifu. I think that easily beats last year's, which would have been It Takes Two and Guardians and Life is Strange. And I don't even... Little Nightmares 2... I'm trying to think of, like, what were my favorite games. And those would probably be a top 4 of some sort. Was there any big PlayStation or Xbox? Xbox didn't do much the last couple of years. That's what's exciting about Xbox going forward is you think about the last couple of years, you can never think of Halo. But Halo was not being my top 3 last year. So I think the top of this year obliterated the top of last year.
Last year, easily.
And I feel like this year had more depth. However, I will say this year had the worst of the. I can't think of a game that I didn't like more than Tales, Saints Row, Devil in Me. Those 3 I really didn't like. I can't think of anything last year that I hated that much. I really can't think of it.
It was more stuff that came out this year, and it was more room for error this year. I felt like.
Yeah.
I think that last year was still reeling off of the thing around the world that happened. But I think this year a lot of people just kind of kicked it into full gear for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And I think next year you'll probably have either just as much or
next year I think we'll have some horrible one. But because again it's going to be so because I made it's not up yet at the time you and I are recording and maybe up by the time the video's up. I'm doing a top anticipated, and I wrote down 43 games I'm looking forward to, and then I got it down to 28 for a video, top 28. But I wrote down 43, and I skipped probably, like, no joke, like 5. So there's close to 50 games that moderately have my interest, and probably 40 right now that I would buy day one, that I would, like, say, okay, I'll give you my which is 40 games. I did 39 this year. So just one. Actually, I did more because Life is Strange remastered. I didn't count because it's a remaster. I didn't write Sonic here because I didn't play it yet at the time I did my ranking. I didn't write Mario Rabbids because I own it, but I haven't played it yet. So I actually think own 42 then. So next year maybe 43-ish. But next year has like Crash Team Rumble may be a disaster. There's no guarantee it's good. Skull and Bones could be an abysmal
disaster.
Game. Forspoken could be awful. It could be.
I want that game to succeed.
I want it to succeed, but it could be really bad.
I think it will wind up being bad. I hope not, though.
I think it's going to be like a 6 out of 10 kind of game. Like that'll be the average.
Agreed.
You'll get like a 6, and some people will defend it too much, and they'll like kind of expose themselves. But maybe some people will genuinely like it more than other people. I mean, I'm looking through the thing of next year. Dead Island 2 could be really bad. Diablo 4, while it should be like a perfect kind of thing, depending on what they do with it, with Activision things or Blizzard things, could be
Yep.
atrocious.
Atrocious.
So, yeah, next year I think, but next year also at the top has
You
like a
got a
top
lot
10
at
kind
the
of
top.
thing, has just with Star Wars and Starfield and oh god, well, now I'm blanking. Hogwarts, Atomic Heart, Resident Evil 4, Suicide Squad, Final Fantasy. Like the top of next year is longer than the top of this year. There's probably like 12 next year that would fit into like top 4 of this. Like there's probably triple. So next year is looking gigantic. The games just have to come out. Like if the games come out, Wolf Among Us 2.
Yeah.
Like that, I'm super excited for Wolf Among Us 2. But that game needs to release next year. Don't be pushing it to 2024. These games need to start coming out.
I honestly don't think that Zelda come out next year. I think that will get pushed back.
Oh really? Well, it's got the
I think
date,
that will
May
get pushed
20.
back.
Is it? It's before Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
I think that will get pushed back. I hope it doesn't, but their track record with the first Breath of the Wild and the amount of dates that had at a certain point, and then it got pushed back. I'm like, that's one game where it's like, I hope it's next year.
Yeah.
But I'll believe it when I see it.
I think it was. I think it was supposed to be this year, and it was pushed. So I think it's already at least one.
One push.
One push. How many more does it have in it? It'll be interesting. Because Zelda would, that would take over. And I don't know how much that would affect Suicide Squad, but it would definitely. That's a game. But within the first 6 months, you will have multiple Game of the Year kind of with Jedi Survivor, Hogwarts, Atomic Heart, even if it like is super surprising. Suicide Squad, Zelda, Resident Evil 4 remake, Dead Space remake. Like you got 6 or 7 in the first half that we know of. Starfield could come out in the first half. We don't know. So next year's going to be nuts. What would you say? I mean, you said God of War is your first one, so I'm going to assume that's your Game of the Year, but is it your Game of the Year?
My personal Game of the Year, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
It's my number.
Easily.
It's my number 2. It got close, but like I don't know. Plague Tale was just so. It was different. It's not. Plague Tale Requiem to Innocence did not feel as much of a part 2 to a part 1 that God of War did. And not that it held God of War back, but if I'm really going to say which one was my favorite, God of War Ragnarok was very familiar, whereas Requiem was like, holy God, I didn't know you were capable of. Ragnarok wasn't the huge elevation I think some people thought it was going to be. It was very in line with 2018, which is fine. And it was supposed to be. That's literally the point. But Requiem was like, it's going to look so much better. It was only on next gen, I believe. So see, that helps. It helps when games are only on next gen. Somehow Horizon did it though. People are giving the like visual award of the year kind of things out. Horizon's winning across the board, and I never really like Horizon. Always looked incredible, even when I was playing it. And I still think very fondly of the underwater or just water things. But yeah, you really do think about Horizon. It's like I don't know what game looks better than Forbidden West. I think Forbidden West is probably one of the best looking games of all time. And it was on PS4. So it was held back. I believe. Not held back because of time. It was that age-old thing of like what actually does get held back because of last gen. I do think things do. Because you have to optimize it to the lowest thing. You only have so many people that can only work so long. And I think it's been proven the last 2 years. If the game is only on next gen, immediately it's got like a visual factor that's just better. It just is. They can take more advantage of the system, and somehow Horizon managed to do it with being it's the only one I can think of that did it on both. I
think Horizon is probably the best, like visually speaking.
Yeah, I don't think it's the best.
The
game.
water.
I think the water is so good.
But it's gonna be one of those games guaranteed that stands out for years to come.
Oh yeah.
Like even when the next generation is out, you're gonna have people saying that this game still looks better than a lot of the newer games that's coming out in the next gen.
I think it's the Uncharted 4 of this, where Uncharted 4 still like holds up, and it's approaching I think 7 years this upcoming May. Yeah, I think Horizon, you're gonna look back 5 years from now and say this is still better than like half the games that are out right now. They know what they're doing, and they're being held back. So imagine Horizon 3 only on if it is on PS5. But because of game development lengths, it's actually going to be tough because by the time you make 3, will PS6 be out? And then do you have to do it as a launch title for PS6 and also PS5? So it is being held back now by PS5, which is odd to even say. You know what I mean? So I don't know how it's going to work. Naughty Dog has that issue too.
I think that as I was playing Battlefront 2 last night, like one thing I was like, this game is gorgeous. I'm like, this game is it is. So I'm like, even something like that is just like I put up there as like, this game probably looks better than a lot of games that's coming out modernly right now.
And I think even at its best, Fallen Order looks
Fallen Order for sure.
I will give a little like. Some of it hasn't aged as well as I thought. It's janky at times. The frame rate is pretty bad at times.
Oh yeah.
There are some weird visuals. There's some textures that are awful, but like at its best, it is like you're in Star Wars. It could be a movie. Like it is that good looking. But there's sometimes like the early on in it, when you're on Kashyyyk and you have to swim in the water. During that scene, you jump in the water. And it's a cutscene, so it's not even in game. It's a cutscene. You jump in the water, and it creates like the splash ripple, and it looks horrible. It looks so bad, and I'm like, it just because I'm such a water guy. It's like, oh my god, Horizon could never do something like this. But Fallen Order is weird because at its best, it is like a 10 out of 10 visual game that still holds up, but it has some actually really where maybe it was rushed. You know, and actually, well, we know they said it was rushed at the end. At least the ending, from the story perspective, was rushed because they did have to make the deadline of releasing it when they did. So hopefully, with Survivor, they kind of just clean that stuff up around the edges. That's really the only thing I'm looking for Survivor to do is just fix that kind of stuff.
Give us a new story, fix the rough edges, and you're off to the races here.
Yeah. There's such a good foundation. So I think, and again, I kind of forgot that where it's like Fallen Order is such a good base, and now you have more you can do. I mean, yes, you have to abide by the year you're in and stuff like that, the lore. Yep. But you had to establish Cal and do the flashbacks and all this stuff. You don't have to do that anymore. I mean, you can if you want, but you can do literally whatever you want. Bring in Obi-Wan, bring in Darth Maul. Bring in Starkiller, do whatever you want.
I would love to see Starkiller again. I think they decanonized him.
Dave Filoni, I saw it because I was looking this up last night. Dave Filoni said he wants Starkiller to be in canon, so they're actively looking for ways of inserting him into, Star Wars.
Because he should be.
Yeah.
I love that game. I loved both.
Force
why
Unleashed.
am I blanking? Force Unleashed games, to the point where I have bought both copies, like both games, on multiple different consoles. I have like figures of Starkiller.
Yeah.
So like
he's sweet.
He is, and it would be a shame if they did not bring him in. But I'm looking forward to what characters pop up in Survivor though.
Yeah.
Because I don't know necessarily that we're gonna get Obi-Wan. I
think we're gonna get at least one of Obi-Wan or Darth Maul. I think I
think Darth Maul is the more likely.
Okay.
Because there is a room, I forget what place it is, but there is somewhere that in the recent season of
I think
Obi-Wan, there was like somewhere that Kyle went that Obi-Wan goes to.
Oh.
And so it was like if a Jedi had never went in there, how would Obi-Wan have done it if Kyle had already done it? That means that somebody's already done it. So it's like, just keep those two apart kind of for canon reasons.
Yeah.
But I would love to see Obi-Wan pop up selfishly, but I think Darth Maul would be the smarter play. Even with something like Bad Batch and seeing like Darth Maul, who had his criminal organization, like seeing how that worked for him and things like that. So I would like to see Darth Maul.
I don't remember Emilia Clarke's character name, but even her, you could throw in if it's not gonna like blow my mind if she's in the game. It'd be cool, but I don't know her name, so that's kind of an issue already. I like her as an actress, but Man Solo was not the greatest film.
It was not.
But you know what? Hindsight 2020, it was better to me than the last two episode movies.
For sure.
So
for sure.
I just didn't think
I did not like those
when it came out.
I like Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I did like that. Not nearly as when I say like, it is still below a lot of
Yeah.
the other Star Wars projects
Well, it's
out
just
there.
4
But
again.
out of those three,
It's just 4 again.
yeah,
It's good. It's a good film that had a lot of potential to do stuff, and then good old Ryan Johnson came in, and he thought, and then he should have made Knives Out instead at that time. Anyway,
yep.
well, what a year we had, truly, both from gaming, and then we also started this little show up again. But next week, hopefully, we should have a guest. We're trying. And we're just going to kind of go from there. Every maybe 5 or so episodes, we'll do a guest. And we've talked about maybe live streaming special, episodes of it. So lots planned. We're going to start covering games that are coming out. So I think Fire Emblem is on our docket to start to cover. And then, of course, you got Dead Space and Forspoken. I mean, we're in. Really next week is probably, if things don't start next week, which it probably will start to get a little bit more busy, the week after is when it's really going to start. So we're almost there. So I'll say Happy New Year and all that good stuff. Do you want to say anything to end the show?
Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you guys have a great holiday. Spend it with your family. Get your backlog totally out the way because come January 1st, we're going to be in for a ride.
Yep. We're almost there. We're almost there. Thank you all, as always, for watching. We really do appreciate your support. We know that it's a smaller show, but the people who watch it really are vocal that they like it, and I really do appreciate it. And I think we got good chemistry, and we're able to make it work. And so we're going to keep the train running. Something I've failed to do past times with the show, but good things ahead, I think. So let us know what you think about any of these topics. Let us know future topics you want us to talk about, and we'll see you all on the next one.